Welcome gamers, my name is Daz Tactic and this is my top 10 list on my gaming radar for 2024 that are board game style games. They're not necessarily board games like what we're looking at through here, which is Risk. Risk is an adaptation of a board game. They can be like that. In fact, I'm not sure if I've got any that strictly are adaptations of board games in this list for this year. Anyway, like certainly over the previous years, there's been some excellent adaptations that have come from board games, such as Gloomhaven and games like this. But this list is more about, I guess, the purity of the game mechanics, where they sort of just have that feel that they could be board games. And so let's just get into it. I guess, we'll start with our number 10, which is Warside. Now, Warside is a game that I love these sort of games. These are advanced war / battle isle type games, which are an old-fashioned style of game. They're not really strictly board games, but they are simple to play. They're puzzle games to a large degree as well. The maps tend to be scripted. You very rarely get random maps. I wish someone would make a game with this mechanics that actually really was full random maps, like fully procedural maps. I think it would do very, very well. Simple mechanics to do it, but like just with the actual random map application. These sort of games, though, do tend to be very, very balanced with the actual maps. And they tend to be fairly small maps. The games don't tend to take a hell of a long time to play. The mechanics, as I said before, very, very simple in that. Essentially, well, you're looking at Advanced Wars, you're looking at Battle Eye, you're looking at Wargroove, games like that, where the mechanics, as I say, very, very cut down, a lot of fun to play. So I am looking forward to trying Warside. It sort of says, welcome to Warside, a fast-paced, turn-based tactics game with a story campaign. That's where I get turned off. All these games tend to have that multiplayer support and a built-in map editor, which is good because at least there'll be other content coming that way. The fight for victory never ends. Choose your commander, assemble your forces, and battle your way to victory. Yeah, I would love to see bigger maps, in the sense that you would have like a collection of things that are close to where you are, but then a random map to then play on. You could still do it this way, where you actually just mirror the map. Like do a random map for half the map and mirror it for the other side, and then have different algorithms for continents or whatever else it might actually be. I would love that. I absolutely love it, devs. Anyway, this is my number 10, and really the only thing that really pulls this one down to number 10 slot is that lack of random maps, the lack of replayability. These are usually, as I say, a lot of fun to play, very simple to pick up, sort of easy to play but difficult to master usually. And each, because of the nature of what they are, there's lots and lots of playing the same map over and over, because it is a bit of a puzzle rather than an actual strategy game as such. Number 9 on my list is Breachway. Now, Breachway is a game that it sort of has that feel of it being simple, the simplistic sort of map style, the positioning of the fleet as you sort of move it through. You don't have a lot of agency to move wherever you like, so there's constraints that feel like a board game. And so this one is more like a feel board game-ish type sort of game with sort of fairly simple game mechanics by the looks of things with it. And so I'm just reading what it says. It says, explore the galaxy in this deck-building sci-fi roguelike where ship upgrades and crew management are key to your survival. Optimize resource generation, engage in intense turn-based battles, and take on ever-growing threats as you seek out the signal. Okay, so that's sort of where we are with Breachway. That's my number 9. I don't really know what to expect from this one, so this one is sort of a bit of an unknown, but it does look very, very interesting. So I am looking forward to getting my hands on this particular one sometime this year, hopefully. For number 8, I've got Songs of Silence, which is, it says, here are strategy games set in a fantasy world threatened by an all-devouring silence. The game features a mix of turn-based kingdom management, auto-battler and hero development, contrasted with intense real-time battles. Now, this one has got a lot of aspects that seem to be sort of driven by cards to a degree. The actual battles that we're seeing through here are real-time, but they're actually scripted. It's an auto-battler system, so the battles are still played out or still planned in almost like a board game feel. And so you then, it has just got that feel of being a board game again. It's for me, it's going to be an interesting game. I'm really looking forward to getting my hands onto this particular game and sort of seeing how it goes. Here we go. You can sort of see it here on the screen where you've got like the you're essentially creating your army. And then just letting the auto battler then sort of use that to fight the battles for you. So certainly has a board game feel, certainly has the simplicity of a board game about it. So again, really looking forward to playing this particular game. And number 7 on my list is Field of Glory Kingdoms, which again has the mechanics of being sort of cut down and simplified to the point where it does feel like you're playing a board game, even although it would feel like a complicated board game. The mechanics are so pure with this sort of game. You can sort of see on the map through here that essentially you've got like different areas. You then sort of develop different things within the areas, move your armies around. Even the actual combat in Field of Glory Kingdoms is going to be fairly simplistic and cut down, like the way that it actually would then play out. So it's even that aspect feels very, very much like a simple board game to play out the actual combat. Or if you actually do have the Field of Glory medieval game, so Field of Glory Medieval, you will be able to play out the battles in that, which then makes it into more of a tabletop, which is still board gamey, to be honest, but in a different sort of fashion. But the Field of Glory Kingdoms, nearly everything about this game will feel like a board game as I sort of just go through screen by screen. This is sort of like your leader screen. You've got your the different sorts of councils and things, what's going on through there. Again, still got that same sort of board gamey sort of style feel, even just with the setting up of the actual provinces themselves, how to sort of deal with the different pops and things. It's very, very simple mechanics, but done very, very well. So look out for Field of Glory Kingdoms. This is going to be, hopefully, a massively big game this year for Agiod. It sort of deserves to be based on what they did with Empire, with Field of Glory Empires. So Kingdoms, keep an eye open for it. It's one of my most anticipated games of the year. Can't wait to get my hands on it properly and be able to do some recording. I am in the beta of this one, but I purposely haven't played much of it just yet. I sort of want to wait until it's a little bit closer to launch before I sort of really get my teeth into it. But I'm looking forward to it. As I say, like I'm expecting a lot from this game, and just looking at reading through all the different notes that have come out about this game, it's exciting, very, very exciting where this one is actually heading. Number 6 on my list is Overboss, which is a very simple, like it does have these sort of tile board gamey sort of feel about just the graphics with it, or just the application. The mechanics look very, very simple. I know nothing about this game. It could be terrible, could be great. I really don't know. I'm sort of itching to play it because it looks so interesting. It looks like there's a customization, or it looks like there's a collision of different mechanics that would make this play differently each time, just from what I can sort of look at with the actual graphics. So I am looking forward to this one. It's certainly on my list, or it's on my radar, which is what we're looking at through here. As I say, I don't know much about it yet, so I'll sort of, like, the actual final judgment will come when the game is sort of available to play, but it is coming out in Q1 2024. And number 5 on my list is Moonbreaker, which has actually been out since 2022 in early access, but I think it's launching this year. And so Moonbreaker is coming. Essentially, it's a miniature sort of strategy game. It's a turn-based game. It looks like it's got very simple mechanics, the way it sort of does work. It almost looks like a tabletop style game. So I didn't really have an area here for tabletop games, and so I've just placed this one in the board games category. But I'll just read it through. So it says, Moonbreaker is a turn-based strategy tactical skirmish game designed to be a true digital miniatures experience. Moonbreaker is set in an expansive sci-fi universe created by Brandon Sanderson. Direct captain and crew in gripping, ever-changing competition and adventure. So that looks interesting to me. Now, if you don't know who Brandon Sanderson is a sci-fi writer, or fantasy/sci-fi writer. He took over the writing of the Wheel of Time series. So if that's like he didn't write the first part of that series, but he did actually take over the last few books in that particular series. But he's written a hell of a lot of sci-fi books. So anyway, it looks like a very, very interesting game with some very, very pure mechanics. I haven't tried it. It's a game I would be interested in having a look at. You can see through here, there's like you can paint your own miniatures and just get them ready. But it certainly does look like a miniature style game, a tabletop style game. So again, that would sort of indicate that it's a board game feel and board game mechanics, but with a tabletop experience. And coming in at number 4, we've got Zephon, which is from the developers of Warhammer 40,000 Gladius. Of course, it's a post-apocalyptic 4X strategy game built on Proxy's, Proxy is the Proxy Studios, unique tactical combat system, guides survivors through a turbulent future, navigating unexpected disasters, eldritch horror, and cyberpunk monstrosities. What will you do to survive? This is sort of, I guess one of the fears is that it's going to be too much like Gladius. From what I've seen, there are certainly some changes, like some additions to the way, like, you know, to the actual application of the game, which does look very, very interesting. But for some people, it may be too similar to Gladius for them to you know, it may feel too much like a reskin. I can see why that would be the case, but there certainly are some additional mechanics to this particular game. It's certainly based around the same sort of combat system, which is a very, very good combat system, by the way, but it does feel like a board game in many, many aspects of the way it is played. It's, again, one of these games which is quite difficult to end up mastering, even to actually just survive, to be honest, if it's anything at all like Gladius. Gladius is one of these games that becomes extremely... like it's a hard game to play simply because the AI is so good in it. So it's one of these things that it does punish you a lot as you're learning to play it. And Zephon, I think, will be no exception. But I would recommend players play it if it's anything at all like their previous games. And so Gladius is one of my all-time favourites. So I'm expecting Zephon to sort of get there as well. To be honest, I'm really looking forward to this one a lot coming in 2024. And coming in at 3rd on the list is a game that I'm really looking forward to this year again. This is one that I did play the demo quite a bit. I used to play the original game back in the day, maybe 15 years ago, whenever that was that it came out. But they've done such a great job of this. This is the League of Geeks have actually put this together. Solium Infernum. Wow, what an adaptation that they've created. It's just beautiful what they've actually done here. So can't wait to actually get the release version and just to see the full extent of the game. The demo was great, like it was really, really awesome, and it just whet the appetite enough to really want to be playing the full version of the game. So it says, take the infernal throne in this hellish turn-based grand strategy game. The Prince of Darkness has vanished, leaving archfiends to conspire, muster your legions while intoning dark sorceries, devilish schemes and Machiavellian plots. Who will be the new ruler of hell and ascend the throne? This is such a great feel. It's not an actual board game. It didn't come from a board game, but it feels so much like a board game when you play it. The original game was as well. It could have very easily been a great, great board game. I don't know if they ever did adapt it from a board game. If they had, it would have gone the other way, as in it would have come from a computer game first and then become a board game afterwards. So many board game adaptations come the other way. But this is such a great, great game. Card driven to a large extent, but you've got so much choice every turn. You've got to really sort of it's not agonizing trying to sort of figure out what to do, and there's no right or wrong, but it has a big impact on the outcome depending on the choices that you make. So it's another one of these games that is sort of easy to play but difficult to master. And the more you play it, and the different sorts of archfiends that you end up playing as, you have different aspects about the game where you can play completely different. As it sort of says in through here, like you can play like a Machiavellian. You can actually really go and play the politics where you don't do any combat at all and still win that way. Or you can just play brute force, which I think will probably be the way that most people will play it initially, because it's probably the easiest way to play the game, is just to control armies, march them around and try to take over militarily. But it's just got so much in this game. It's so pure, the game mechanics in this one. And it really is one of my most anticipated games, probably in my top 3, I think, it's top 3 in this particular one, but it's actually, in my own personal preferences, this is one of the absolute top games that I'm looking forward to this year. So Solium Infernum, I think that you'll hear a lot about it when it does actually hit in February. For number 2, we have Yield, Fall of Rome, which is another game that looks very, very interesting. I don't know anything about it. It just looks so cool. Again, very, very simple mechanics by the looks of things. Looks like it can be played very, very quickly, but it looks engaging as well. So it would appear to be random maps, which is a big tick for me. So there's going to be a lot of replay value. Simple mechanics as well. One of the hallmarks of these board game style games. Really, really liking the look of this one here. So it says a compact yet complete strategy experience where every choice matters. Rome is crumbling. Choose your favourite king and build your kingdom in the ashes of the Roman Empire. So I think this one is sort of set in the either the early Middle Ages or pretty much the late Dark Ages. I think is sort of like would be the time frame for this one here. But again, looks incredibly good. Can't wait to try this one as well. This is one of these things where I think my anticipation is sort of like through the ceiling without knowing anything at all about the actual game itself, but it looks great. So can't wait to actually give this one a crack. And my number 1 most anticipated board game style game coming out, this was a DLC coming out for Galactic Civilizations 4 Supernova, is Warlords, the Warlords DLC. Can't wait for this one to come. Now, I need to explain, why is this, in my opinion, a board game? And this is a hard one for me to justify because it's a complex game. Like Galactic Civilizations really is a 4X game. Should it be considered a board game? In my mind, if you play it like a board game, you actually understand the game better that way than if you play it as a typical 4X. Because again, the mechanics have been stripped down into different components. The battles, and this will actually change the battles to a large degree, this particular DLC, but the battles are essentially auto-play battles or auto-battlers to a large degree. But the mechanics of everything sort of intertwine and combine. The actual base game, Galactic Civilizations, is astoundingly good. Like, it's incredibly good, just so detailed in so many different ways. But again, the interweaving of the different mechanics works beautifully, and a lot of work has been done. And just recently, the updates towards the end of 2023 have completely elevated this game into very, very lofty heights. This is by far the best version of Galactic Civilizations that's ever come out. Even sort of taking into account the eras that they have come out over time. But it's a game that can be played so many different ways. The scale of it can be absolutely enormous. There's just so much to love about this game. It's just an incredible game, and I can't wait for this Warlords expansion to come, because that, as I said before, will revolutionise the way that combat is done in the game. That for me has been the weakest aspect of the game. But again, if your mindset coming into the game is that you're playing a board game style game, it will make it. I think it makes it more fun to play. Similarly, like when I was for my simulations, I had Distant Worlds 2 in there as a simulation style game. These are very, very different experiences between Galactic Civilizations 4 and Distant Worlds 2. Even though they're both space 4X games, the mindset that you've got to sort of get your head into to play each of these is extremely different. And this is one that really does. You get such benefit from actually playing it as a board game. So that's why it's in my board game group. The combination of all of the different scoring that I had given it, it made it come out as number 1. Like, it ended up as number 1. I am super looking forward to the Warlords expansion coming. I think it's going to completely change the game yet again and make it even better than it currently is, and it's already excellent. So that's my full list here of board game style games. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure there'll be some contention around, including some of these games that aren't really adaptations of board games. This one, I can certainly see that Galactic Civilizations 4 may be considered too complex to be considered a board game, but I just know that if you treat it like a board game, you will get so much more enjoyment from playing it. So that's why it's in this category. And as I say, the scoring, it just ends up on top because it does everything so damn well. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Please look at the links down below in the description for my Patreon links, my coffee.com, my Nexus game store, etc., etc. It's all there. So thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe if you like this sort of content. It's very, very much appreciated.